and you might be offended by this one, the first bit isn't you. I got my husband to find me some more autism memes and we're gonna react to them. He was chuckling when he selected these and he told me that he related to quite a lot of them too, even though he's neurotypical. So you might relate if you're not autistic too, because everyone can be socially awkward and other stuff sometimes. It doesn't mean you're a bit autistic. We learnt that one last time. So I just went in for my intake for autism diagnosis. I was directed to go through some doors, but there was a sign saying fire doors. Please keep doors closed at all times on it. I stood there confused for a good minute how to go through a door I shouldn't open. I think that diagnosis is done. That's so funny. I hate things like that. I hate it because me and my husband, we film in theatres and they're just like mazes. They're so confusing to get around and you'll go up to someone, you'll be like, how do I get into the auditorium? And they'll give you some like long instruction. Now most people are quite helpful and they lead you somewhere. But then you have the awkward thing sometimes of like, do they expect me to follow them? Or am I supposed to wait? That whole little dance. Sometimes people give you directions and I feel like I'm just so worried about looking like I'm listening and like I'm understanding and I'm taking in what you're saying. And then I'm like, yeah. I just feel like even if I don't understand it in the moment, I'm like, you know, once I get out on my own, I'll figure it out. It'll all come back to me. It's gonna click into place. You know, it's just a bit of a delay. No, I've forgotten everything you've said and now I just look like an idiot. And then yeah, things like that with doors all the time. Doors, yeah. And you're just worried that like you're gonna start pushing it open and an alarm's gonna go off and everything's gonna go horribly wrong. I don't understand how some people just breeze through things like this. How do you not have like disasters happening every second? Because I swear if I did just push the doors open, then an alarm would go off. If I don't, then I'll probably look like an idiot for not pushing the doors open. Like whatever is the wrong answer, I feel like I'm probably gonna do it. But that's so funny that they were going for the autism diagnosis. You are officially diagnosed. Welcome to the family. Sensory overload is frustrating because how am I supposed to explain that I don't want someone near me because I can hear the washing machine beeping, background noise, there's clothes in the wrong places, everyone is too loud, there's dirty dishes and I can feel my toes too much. Oh dear. I don't know, do I ever feel like I feel my toes too much? Does anyone feel like that? I don't know, I can get the feeling of just like ick, like discomfort in your own body. Something that's happened to me recently is that I just cannot remove nail varnish from my toes. I mean, I have to because I want to repaint them. Perfectionism, we must have no chipped nail varnish at any point in time. All of a sudden just feels like excruciating, like kind of tickly, but like in a painful way. It's just hideous. Just like the cotton wool with the nail varnish remover just rubbing it on my toes. It's just so bad. I just sit there cringing the whole time and it's like torturous. That didn't used to happen. I don't know what's happened to my poor toes. So like that's a toe thing that happens to me. Does anyone else have the toenail varnish remover problem? What is it? Can we add it to the DSM-5? No, I'm joking. I can hear the washing machine beeping. Ooh, like I said in a previous video, I don't like notifications. Anything telling me that it's ready and it's like, oh. No, you're done when I say you're done. There's clothes in the wrong places. I mean, right now, there's a lot of clothes in the wrong places in my house and I hate it. I hate it. I want everything to be in its place at all times. It makes me feel like everything is spiraling out of control when I don't have that. But obviously, if you actually want to get things done at some point in your life, you kind of have to let a little bit of chaos in, particularly when you have a child. That's tricky. I don't like it, but I'm not going to be a full-time housewife running around putting everyone's stuff away, so I have to accept it and yes, live with background discomfort about that. Everyone's too loud, there's dirty dishes. I can see the dirty dishes from where I'm sitting right here. That's not great. And everyone is too loud. When you've got a 4-year-old, everyone is much too loud. My husband got me noise cancelling headphones for Christmas, but executive function, I keep forgetting to charge them. And just attachment to belongings, I keep using my old non-noise cancelling headphones because I'm used to them and I know which buttons to press. Oh dear. To everyone who ever said I didn't look autistic, know that I'm constantly running act like people expect in my brain. I'm not always aware I'm doing it and it's eating up at least 50% of my RAM. So it's the other reason for a lot of CPU overheating. Yeah, so I suppose that would be meltdowns once you like get out of a social situation, I suppose. So yeah, that's about masking and obviously how autistic people can pretend to be normal and try and hide some of their quirks, like flapping things and all the other funky stuff you might do and sitting in strange positions and being too enthusiastic and talking too much about things that you're interested in and all these little things that you try and push down about yourself. And it all takes energy. You've got to be constantly monitoring yourself and make sure that you're not acting in a way that's just natural for you to act. You've got to constantly be like holding parts of yourself back, reining yourself in, and then also at other times, you know, pushing out other things like enthusiasm about the right things and yeah, just it's hard. I have a video about how masking feels from the inside and a video where I took the quiz, the CAT-Q, to find out whether or not you're masking autism, so that might be quite interesting to some people watching this video. I was surprised by my score. It was high, but that would make sense because I wasn't diagnosed until my 20s. Friend, you're autistic, but you're not socially awkward. Me, I am. I just hide it so well, it gives me chronic fatigue. Oh. I was reading that in a tone like it was going to be really funny, and it was more like, oh. Again, the masking. This was me at college. I try really hard to be an extrovert and put myself out there and be likable at all times. It just gets so hard to maintain. You can't keep up that energy all the time. It just feels like, yeah, you're acting constantly in a performance, in character all day, and you've got to make sure you stay in character. It's hard, it's hard. And then you constantly have in your head all day like, relax, look relaxed, make sure you don't look awkward. How can I sit so I don't look awkward? How can I make sure I don't look like I'm uncomfortable with this situation? Because a lot of the time you are uncomfortable for whatever reason, whether that's to do with social anxiety or whether that's to do with sensory things or whatever, and you've got to try and look like, this is chill, I'm like everyone else, it's fine. Yeah, what is this one? What is this image? Me, after my boyfriend goes through my phone and finds multiple am I autistic quizzes, I suppose, I think that's been cut off, instead of something normal like cheating stuff. Something normal like cheating stuff. Probably because I never bothered to delete all my millions of tabs on my phone. Like, how does it always likes to make a new tab? But I didn't ask you to make a new tab, you just made one, so it's not my fault that there's 10,000 on there. I did do a lot of quizzes in the beginning, at the start of my journey, and then I get him to do it so I could compare our answers, because I was like, I swear he would say the same thing though, and he's just introverted, and then he would say the complete opposite, and I'd be like, oh, I thought I had a really good understanding of the situation and our similarities and differences here, but clearly not. Oh well. Sometimes you're just not a very good judge of your own character, even when you think you're very self-aware. I thought I was one of the most self-aware people on earth. I'm autistic, so I guess it's natural that I will never ever be able to understand exactly when it's the correct time to add my point to a group conversation. Watching the conversation move onto a totally different topic while a really good point is left unsaid is a very specific autistic sadness. Yes, and it stays in your head for ages and you're like, is there a way I can put this in? Like, it was a good point, like, oh. And then like the ship has sailed, the time has passed and you can't. I wonder if my husband can relate to that as well. It'll be interesting to ask him. He might be able to. I feel like other introverted people might. We definitely said at the start of our relationship, we related quite a lot because we both had social anxieties. He has less so now, whereas mine are part of my brain and are not really going anywhere. We said, like, when you're in a group, it's just so hard. And then the whole thing of, like, when you say something in a group and nobody hears you, or one person hears you and you just make, like, awkward eye contact and they're like, I heard you, and they'll give you, like, a sympathetic face, or that one person will respond to you privately. Yeah, it's, sad times. How do some people always make sure they're heard? Oh boy, ever spill a little bit of your coffee and realise the thread you're hanging on by is actually quite thin? And then the caption is, those mornings are no joke. So I can't drink coffee. Right, this is not relevant to the meme really. Probably a topic for another day. Does any other autistic people have a terrible reaction to coffee? I didn't realise, my son is nearly 4, I didn't realise until I had him. I was like so tired and I just thought, how do people cope with motherhood? How can people exist this tired? It is dangerous to be this tired. And then I thought, oh yeah, people drink coffee, and because it's bitter and I hate the taste of it, I just hadn't really ever had it to drink. And then I drank some, and let's just say I ended up in A&E a number of times before I realised I'm highly sensitive to it, and I wasn't having a heart attack those times. Are you super sensitive to caffeine? Say it's I wouldn't have decaf anyway. Say your cup of tea you drink. I feel like getting your clothes caught on things as well. It's like the joke of people saying like that only happens when you're in a bad mood. It's like, oh, things like that, they drive me mad. It just, you're already feeling a little bit on the edge. It just makes everything feel like it's spiraling out of control. Losing things as well as an autistic person is like the perfect recipe for a meltdown. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that as well. Neurotypical people. I feel like stubbing your toe as well, that's another one. This is the one that he said. I think he said you might be offended by this one. The first bit isn't you. Dating me is like biting into an oatmeal raisin cookie and realising it's chocolate chip, and then realising 2 hours later it was also an edible. Oh, took me a while to compute. I was like, oh, it says inedible. Oh, that's sad. So you were saying I wasn't a raisin, but I was in fact an inedible. chocolate chip cookie. I was gonna give him food poisoning or something. No, an edible. This shows that I'm not very adventurous when it comes to things of that sort. Good, because coffee sends me to A&E, so like, maybe don't mess with stuff. Is anyone else just super sensitive to anything they ingest? I was so confusing pre-autism. I was like, I don't feel like I'm making this stuff up, but like everything I take has a problem with my system, and then doctors look at you like you're just some hypochondriac. I'm like, I don't think I am. Like, I'm a lot of things. I don't think that's one of them. I need my husband. What does he mean by that? What does he mean? I don't know. I don't have experience. What would happen? Did he feel very chilled out? Do I make him feel very hungry? Do I make him want to eat lots of snacks? You know, sometimes I get him a piece of chocolate from the cupboard. Is that what we're thinking? I don't know. Just that it's a trip, that it's an adventure. Do I make him panicked? Do I make him, what do you call it, paranoid? What are we trying to say here, Lewis? What are we trying to say? Do you want to fight? Apparently he didn't think I was a raisin. I don't think he did think I was a raisin, because he pursued me. I was just sitting minding my own business, so if you thought I was a raisin, you obviously must really like raisins then. And then we had to mix chocolate chip. Oh, so he liked me, and then 2 hours later it was almost end. I think probably just means he didn't know I was autistic, and that's how I was, should we say quirky, should we be kind? He's still here, he does like me, and I like him a lot, don't worry. And the caption says, my husband's the same way, so it makes perfect sense. No, my husband's probably just a chocolate chip cookie, he's just a really nice person. I already read that before I read it, if that makes sense. What's your dream job? I would like to simply not participate in society. Yes, kind of. Does anyone else feel like I need to read it again now that I know about autism and I know that I am autistic? But did you like the book The Catcher in the Rye growing up? I liked it. I feel like a lot of books like that where it's like they have a cult following. It's like, oh, who is in that cult, you know? I related a lot to Holden in The Catcher in the Rye. I'm sorry, a lot of people hate him. Maybe you hate me now, whatever. But the author J.D. Salinger, he went to live in the woods after he wrote that book. He wrote that book, it did well, and then he was like, now I'm gonna go live in the woods. And I'm like, yeah, I relate to the voice that you created for a character quite a lot. Maybe we have some similarities, Mr. Salinger. I've heard a lot of people who are PDA, have the pathological demand avoidance profile of autism, or persistent drive for autonomy is a much nicer name for it. About like from 17, he was like, I'm just gonna retire. Like, it's fine. And obviously you can't do that, it's hard. So I just feel like it is just so difficult to make yourself fit as a neurodivergent person. Find your place in society. I think one of the most liberating things that my mom told me as a child, my mom is just like the best supportive person ever, and she said to me, you don't have to do any sort of traditional role in society, you just need to do what you need to do to survive. You just have to make enough money. She wasn't trying to get me to sell, you know, substances or anything like that. That's a bit what that sounds like, but I mean, whatever floats your boat. No, probably don't do that. You know, you can figure out your own path and forge your own little weird existence, and it's fine as long as you're not hurting anybody and you're doing what you need to do to survive, then that's it. So you can be self-employed, you can have multiple streams of income, you can always have a simple part-time job. If you can get by, you can live frugally, you're not going into debt. You don't have to be on the treadmill and be following what everyone else is doing. It's up to you. There is choice. We feel like we don't have a choice and like we're trapped by society, but we're not. There is choice, you know? There's so many options that it's also kind of overwhelming and that's its own separate issue, but you do have choices, basically. That was a waffle. If you like memes, who doesn't like memes? Then you might like my previous meme reaction videos. Put one of the videos on screen now and you can click that one and go and have a watch. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.